Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Alicia Hannah-Kim about Season 5 of Cobra Kai, which will be streaming worldwide on Netflix September 9th. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is so exciting. It was announced that you were joining the show. So much has happened. So I feel like it's a very exciting and overwhelming experience and moment for joining Season 5. What's going through your mind when you're officially joining Season 5?
At the time when I joined, I don't think I was aware of how global and how popular the show was. I think I was really sort of blissfully ignorant. And then now as we're leading up to the premiere, I'm sort of seeing the very intense fan discussions, the fan art, which is really incredible. And you know, I'm in conversation with John Howick, and he's like, oh, you're going to experience this now for the first time. So it's exciting. And I'm really curious to see how it's all going to unfold.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the coolest things about the show and why I love it so much is you have the nostalgic characters that people know from the past films. You have the new characters, the kids, the members of the different dojos and everything. Is that something you kind of noticed as soon as you started filming all the scenes, that it did have this real combination of the nostalgia, but the opportunity to get a lot of new fans as well because the new characters? Did you notice that blend as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say though, I mean, in full disclosure, I had not seen The Karate Kid before I'd started. And I hadn't really watched Cobra Kai. And so I was filming another show at the time, and it was all very, very fast. And I got on the plane and I started watching episodes as I was coming over. And that sort of 80s nostalgic vibe, which I think, also Stranger Things does really well. It's really beautifully handled by the creators. I think it strikes that balance of paying homage to the history and the story of the Karate Kid universe. And then at the same time, we have this really, really modern take, and the kids obviously are really carrying on that tradition. And I think they just do it beautifully. You know, it's a hard balance to strike.
Absolutely. A little bit of my first question too, joining in Season 5. I mean, Season 4 ends with a lot of tension, right? John Kreese has been framed. Terry Silver has a plan to expand Cobra Kai. What's it like joining the show where there's gonna, that as the next episode for Season 5, we're getting right back where we left off, and there's a lot of tension. You're joining the show where so much tension has erupted in the end of Season 4.
You know what? It's a great cast, and there's so many different stories. And I was sort of thrown in there suddenly. And my first scene that I was filming was actually at the airport, coming out of the private jet, meeting Terry Silver. And it was just the most dramatic, striking entrance they could have gifted me with. And I was very much sort of thrown into that world suddenly. And Peyton gave me a lot of tips about what was going on and who we hated and, what the rivalries were. And so I was getting that sort of quick education while I was on set. But you know what? It's chaotic in the best way. It's the best set to work on, truly.
The big three, they're calling them: Hayden, John, and Josh, the big three.
Yeah.
What are those conversations like with them, with your character, and this kind of mentality that people haven't seen your character before? There's been 4 seasons of the show, and your character is kind of just being thrown in where there's so much tension with Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do. What are those conversations like with the big three?
You know what? I mean, they haven't seen my character before, but my character is sort of richly embedded into that Karate Kid lore. So I think there is a foundation to start from. But, working with the big three, which I think is the best name for them, John Hurwitz, Josh Shields, Hayden Schlossberg, it's a dream. They are incredibly enthusiastic and warm, and more than anything, really wanted to take care of my character and talk to me about the history and sort of educate me on her place in the story. And even, with my accent being, obviously I'm a sensei coming from Korea, but I'm fully bilingual. And a lot of times with bilingual people, we'll learn English from either American English or say something like British English. And so to make her really different from all the kids in the Valley, we sort of leaned into this sort of backstory. Maybe she had gone to school in Britain. And so even those little conversations really infuses her with so much importance for me, makes it authentic for me. And they were very mindful about having those conversations with me. And they would each be on set, sometimes together, sometimes one at a time. And they would take me aside and give me little tidbits and sort of clue me in as to where this was going. But I felt really, really just supported, really supported. They are such huge fans of this franchise. That's why they've created these shows. And that really comes through. And that enthusiasm is contagious, truly.
It's really cool too, because you look at a lot of the characters they have developed where over seasons people have changed sides. People have moved on to different dojos and they were seen as the villain and now they're not the villain and everything as well. And your character is having interactions with a lot of these students at the different dojos that have been on different sides. Like some of them were on Cobra Kai, some of them were ever. Is that kind of cool, like fun too as an actor to kind of be, having scenes with a lot of characters that are very blurry in terms of like where they stand?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's life. The whole thing about the Karate Kid universe is so, I think, a touchstone for people is this idea of this like very set good and evil, light and dark, and those just really kind of life themes. And it's very easy to sort of give into your base emotion of rage and fury. And it sometimes takes a little while to work through that and come to a place of peace and friendship. And so those journeys that those characters are on are really human. So it totally makes sense that I don't know how much I can spoil, one character that was in one dojo may move to another. I think that's just emblematic of human experience.
That's a spoiler because I feel like it's a given that every season there's like the back and forth.
There's a lot of back and forth. People are growing. People are going to therapy and growing, and they're working on their best selves. And some people are sliding back into bad habits.
I think you go in with it. I think, Alicia, I think you go into a new season of Cobra Kai knowing.
Yeah, that there's going to be a lot of back and forth.
Because I think this is something that I think interests people. These are very complex characters who are very misunderstood. I think you saw it. Yeah. I mean, with Tori, played by Peyton List that you mentioned. I mean, that's one of the most misunderstood characters of all Cobra Kai, and Peyton does such an amazing job. And I think it's fun to see these blurry characters because sometimes you don't know if someone's bad or someone's good. I mean, I think we can make a bet that Terry Silver is bad.
Well, I don't know what his damage is, but specifically like Tori's such a great character. Trying to understand the popularity of the show and why, it's beloved by so many people. I think, based in this sort of heightened world of karate wars and so forth, that is a really, really human experience of being misunderstood, of the bullying and how things can escalate and how you can't ever take something back. Tori is such a great character, beautiful character, and Peyton plays her so wonderfully. And I think, it really speaks to a lot of teenage girls, that level of misunderstanding and escalating into these awful feuds is a very common teenage girl experience.
Yeah, no, we don't want to go into big spoilers, but you are a new sensei that shows up in season 5. And I do have to say, you do such an amazing job, Alicia. Alicia, you do such an amazing job. Seriously. No, it's so good. And it's one of those things that we don't want to go into like big spoilers, obviously, like we said, but the show, a lot of new characters come in that are involved with, because Cobra Kai in one regard is about karate and martial arts and the dojos. In the other regard, it's not about that. It's about the relationships, the family and everything. But a lot of people love and expect, a lot of amazing fight scenes and everything. So what's it like to be a character like a sensei who's right in there, right? When there's a lot of kind of like, you're part of one of the things people love the most about like Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, the karate, the fights and everything. Specifically, you're part of that world. What's that like specifically?
That's thrilling. I mean, that's the best thing ever. I think, actors for an actor, you just want to be able to like plunge yourself into a universe. And the one thing that actors love actually is training for a new skill for a job, whether it's going to like horse camp or like stunt training, like we live for that. So for me, knowing that I was going to walk in there as this global martial artist, she's the best at what she does. Yes. And she's really
and she knows she's the best. That's the best part of she knows she is the best.
She definitely knows. I was definitely like, feeling myself in those scenes. So she's absolutely an alpha, and that translates into the fighting, and it's also her style. I have this really big ponytail. It's got a great momentum to it in the fight. I think they wanted her to be more balletic and sort of circular in the movements. It was so fun. I mean, the stunt training is what I live for. That was also very fast. I was straight into stunt training 1 hour off the plane when I landed. So that was it.
And when we meet your character is kind of thrown in this fire, like I said, right, with this battle and everything. And she knows what she has to do. She knows what the task at hand is. That's really cool too. Like everyone knows what's going on, basically.
Yeah, she's plugged into that mission straight away. I mean, she may not be as sort of connected to the feud in the valley as, say, Johnny or Daniel, but the overarching sort of background of these karate wars is very deeply rooted in her family. And if there's anything about Koreans, like family honor and tradition is of utmost importance to her. So I think that informs a lot of her. That informs all of her decisions and how she moves into this very, very foreign world for her. I mean, coming into the Valley dojo scene is very foreign for Kim Da-eun, but she has one goal and she is hell-bent on achieving that goal.
And it's so amazing because she's really part of that storyline that everyone craved going into season 5, where Cobra Kai won the All Valley, and Terry Silver has that plan to like make Cobra Kai like take over the Valley, but like take over like the world, basically, like with karate, and like it's a big component of that. Yeah, absolutely. Very quickly before we wrap up, when people get a chance to see season 5 of Cobra Kai streaming worldwide on Netflix September 9th, what are you hoping to get out of it takeaway-wise this season?
I hope that they feel really, really validated in their love for the series, because in season 5, I feel like, not only do we have this like really rich history of the Karate Kid universe, from the 80s, now we also have 5 seasons of these characters sort of ruminating in those stories and building histories. And, seeing a lot of that fall apart, come together and work through all of those relationships, I think is really, really satisfying for the Cobra Kai fan. And I hope they embrace Kim Da-eun, because she's a really uncontrollable new element. I think it brings this real international flavor to the series. I think it's really interesting to see where we'll go next.
So good. I can't wait for people to see it. Alicia, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on Popternative to chat about Cobra Kai. It was so great chatting with you.
So great to speak with you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Season 5, September 9th, a few days away. It's so crazy. There's an Instagram account people can keep up to date with, like on your end?
Yes, I'm at the Alicia Hannah. I'm on Twitter. My worst habit. I love Twitter so much.
Oh, absolutely.
You can find me there.
Because it's gonna be
try
crazy.
To respond to as many people as possible.
Oh, it's gonna get crazy.
That it's starting to get crazy. And so I used to be able to respond to people. Now I'm like, I give up. But I love you.
It's gonna be awesome. There's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be so good. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Season 5 of Cobra Kai streaming worldwide on Netflix September 9th. Until next time, this is Alicia Hannah-Kim and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.